All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for coming in. It's Wednesday night Bible study, and we are in the house. It's good to see you guys again. Thank you for watching. Thank you, my Facebook Live crew. Thank you, the TGM Bible study class, for being here tonight. It is a very good, great, incredible lesson tonight. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Visit our website, www.thegodmovement.com. Stay connected with us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on all of those beautiful things. And share the video. Tell people about our ministry, about our church. And so we're gonna just go right into the lesson. Hopefully, stay within my 30-minute period. I give myself 30-minute period. Hopefully, I stay within that. But what I wanted to do, the last few weeks we've been talking about dealing with our emotions, and so I'm kind of turning away from that tonight. We're gonna go into something a little bit more practical. And what is going to, I know we're going into Thanksgiving and being thankful for the things that we have. And a lot of times, I call it the attitude of ingratitude, but a lot of times we beg God for more. We ask God for more because we don't see the significance in the things that we have. You know what I'm saying? So we're constantly asking God, God, give me this, God, give me this, God, give me this, God, give me this. And we don't realize the things that we have and that we already have in our possession. So tonight's lesson is actually a second part to a beginning, but I kind of skipped through that. And I'm coming to tonight's lesson, and it's coming from Matthew chapter 25, and I'm going to read it loud. Matthew 25, verse 14 through 30. And I'm going to read it out loud, and it's dealing with how we handle the things that we have. Okay? St. Matthew 25, verse 14. I'm probably going to read all the way to verse 30, but it's dealing with the things that we have. Okay? And I'm going to start at verse number 14. Y'all can follow along. If you have your Bibles, you can turn. If not, just follow along. Okay. For it is like a man about to go on a journey, and I want you guys to kind of think as I read, who called his own servants and entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another he gave 2 talents, to another he gave 1, each one according to his own ability, and he went on his journey. Immediately the one who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them and gained 5 more. In the same manner the one who had received the 2 talents gained 2 more. But he who received the 1 talent went away and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time the master of those slaves came and settled accounts with them. The one who had received the 5 talents came up and brought 5 more, saying, Master, you entrusted 5 talents to me. See, I have gained 5 more talents. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You are faithful with few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. I'm not reading King James Version. Also, the one who had received the 2 talents came up and said, Master, you entrusted 2 talents to me. See, I have gained 2 more talents. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You are faithful in few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. And the one who had received the 1 talent came up and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. And I was afraid and went away and hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. But his master said to him, You wicked, lazy slave, you knew that I reap where I did not sow and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have put my money in the bank, and on my arrival I would have received my money back with interest. Therefore take away the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has more shall be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who does not have, even what he has shall be taken away. Throw out the worthless servant into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. All right. Did y'all catch the gist of what was going on and what I just read? The master divided some of his things among 3 servants. One man he gave five, one man he gave two, one man he gave one. Here's my question to us. What do you guys feel like was the issue with the man with the one talent? Because basically what happened, he says to them, it's like, okay, I give you $100. What can you do with that $100? I'm finna go away. I'm coming back. You know what I'm saying? I'll be back. So when I come back to you, you say to me, hey Marcus, I know you gave me 100, so uh I just held on to it, and now I'm giving you your 100 right back. Do I have a right to be upset? What do y'all think? With what purpose?
For reproduction, I mean, like for the interest. What can you do? You ask him what can he do with it? Means you needed him to multiply that money while he was out. Because you could, if that was the case, you could have just waited and came back and multiplied your own money.
I like that. That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. All right. So the topic of tonight's lesson is, what are you doing with it? Here's a question that I'm asking all of us in here. What are you doing with it? What are you doing with it? I know it ain't gonna catch. It ain't gonna get no traction until we kind of get through the lesson. All right. First, I'm gonna start with this: human responsibility. One of the main things that I teach is that God will always do what He said He will do. That's a given, right? Most of the time, what we do though is we highlight God's responsibility without acknowledging our responsibility, and then we blame God for things not going right in our lives that we have control over. I take case in point. I always like to use myself so nobody won't get upset. I made a lot of decisions in my younger years that in my adult years I now have to deal with and live with and face. Now, the understanding is, who's to blame? Is God to blame or am I to blame? Truth be told, I'm to blame.
Yeah.
But the thing is that a lot of times people sit back and blame everybody else for their life turning out the way that it is. We get mad at God when the truth is that when you had the opportunity, you squandered away the opportunity. So tonight's lesson is designed to get us to look at the things that we have in our power, right? It's designed to get us to look at the things that we have in our power. Throughout the course of the Bible, it is proven that God puts things and decisions directly in our hands and under our control, and it becomes our responsibility to use and utilize them. So the understanding is what God can do, we can't do, but what we can do, God is not going to do for us. Does that make sense? What we can't do, God can do. But what we can do, God is not going to do for us. And I want us to catch that, because a lot of times, if we work the principle, there would be no need for a miracle. I'm going to say it like this. Most of the time, what people do is we don't control our eating. This is just an example, right? We don't control the way we eat. We don't take care of our bodies. And then after 40, you get 50, and then your body starts to do all of these different changes. So then you start, most people, they start getting sick, right? Now, here's the understanding. Now you're praying for a miracle. When if you had worked the principle, which is the body is a temple, and that don't just mean drinking or smoking or sex. That means you have to take care of your temple, right? So, but if you had walked the principle and taken care of your body, the principle would take care of your body instead of you having to pray for a miracle. Does that make sense? And that's the understanding. The understanding is that what we can do, God won't do. But what we can't do, that's what God is supposed to do. And so tonight's lesson is designed to get us to understand that when we do our ordinary, that's when God put his extra on our ordinary to make it extraordinary. Does that make sense? All right, so let me start. Let me go back. It's kind of chilly in the house tonight. All right. So Jesus gives this parable to bring understanding as to what our responsibility as Christians is. Here's my question to you guys. What do you feel like your Christian responsibility is without being spiritual? Without being spiritual. Without being spiritual, what is your Christian duty? And when I say without being spiritual, I mean without being generally, yeah. what is your responsibility as a Christian? Well, maybe let me bring it a little bit closer. Um, do you feel like being a Christian has anything to do um, with the way you handle your business? Do you think being a Christian has to do with the way you spend your money? That has nothing to do with spirit at all. That's just something, generally speaking, that we have in our control and in our power. Do you think being a Christian has anything to do with the way what you spend your time doing? With that, that's very not spiritual, and I want to highlight that because Christianity is more than just being spiritual. I want us to get that because a lot of times people make it so mystified. The understanding in tonight's lesson is that God requires us as Christians to be mindful with what we have. What do we have that nothing else in creation has? What do we have? We don't have teeth like the lion. We don't have the speed of a cheetah. We don't have the body mass of a bear. But what we do have, we have this. We have this. With the mind, we can beat the lion. We can beat the bear. We can trap him. We can catch him with our mind. You understand what I'm saying? The understanding is that Christianity is more than being spiritual. And one of the texts I use is that Paul describes us as being not slothful in business. I want us to really pay attention that in order to, for me, this is how I say it. For me, being a Christian goes more than just being spiritual or being saved. I'm going to pray for you today. God calls us to be the best that we can be. That transcends, and this is why I'm saying this, that transcends just church. This lesson tonight has nothing to do with worship. It has nothing to do with shouting. But it has everything to do with how these men handled their business, their state of mind, their understanding as to what do I do with what I have. Now, here's my question also. My question is, what if the only thing that God asked you when you get to heaven was, what did you do with what I gave you? What if the judgment was only that? What did you do with what I gave you? What did you give me, God? I gave you a mind. Look, okay, now check this out. I'm finna go somewhere real, I'm finna go somewhere kind of way. Now, I probably shouldn't even be going this because my lesson ain't even touching it. Here's the thing. Where did TV come from? Did God give us TVs? He gave us the idea for a TV. Did God give us computers? He gave us the elements and the idea to create a computer. Did God give us couches? He gave us trees. Here's the understanding. And I was watching T.D. Jakes the other night. He said it his way, and I'm going to marketize it tonight. God will give you the resource, but it's up to you with what you do with that resource. That's tonight's lesson. Tonight's lesson is these men had something. And here's the thing. God, we say, God won't put no more on than you can bear. That's in a good way and a bad way. I'm going to say it like this. If God cannot trust you with $10, God is not going to give you $100. Many of us is praying for $1 million blessings, but you can't properly manage $100. You see what I'm saying? God is not going to give you more than what you can handle. With these men, he gave one of them 5 because 5 is what he could handle. He gave the other one 2 because 2 is what is that fair? That's just. Maybe it's not fair, but it is just. Because if I'm God, I'm not going to give you something that you don't know what to do with. I'm going to give you exactly what you can work with. Now, he gave the man 1 because that's what he could handle. Now, here's the understanding. The understanding is that the man with 5 took those 5 and did something with them. The man with 2 took those 2 and did something with them. And the man with 1 took his 1 and didn't do nothing with it. My question tonight is, how many resources have we been sitting on? How many ideas have we just let stay in our mind? How many books do you have in your mind? How many ideas do you have? How many businesses? Think about it. Do you have in your mind? God was never in the business of creating couches. He was never in the business of creating chairs, but he does create trees. Are you understanding what I'm saying? What have you done with what God has given you? The time that he's given you. What have you done with it? The not just the ideas, not just the time, the efforts, the money. How much money have you made in 1 year? What have you done with it? I remember thinking I came into some money at a point in time in my life, and I spent it all on bills, right? And then I was like, you know what? The bills ain't gonna stop. I should have spent more of it on me. I came into some more money. Then I didn't manage it as well as I should have managed it. Then when I look back on, man, I could have done this with it. I could have done it. Hindsight is 2020, right? But here's the understanding. The understanding is how many resources are we wasting in our lives right now? Just sitting on them. Who's supposed to do something with them ideas if God gave it to you? I'm just asking this because a lot of times we lack, because this is what this man said. He said he blames it on the master, but ultimately it was his issue. He blames it on he blames it on the master, but ultimately it was his issue because he was being lazy. And it's the thing, a lot of times our issue is not God. It's not that God don't give us the things that we need. It's that we don't take advantage and put to use the things that God has given us. You see what I'm, go ahead.
Might not know what direction to go
with that.
And so, sometimes I'm like, okay, hold on, but you just might not be that confident in yourself to get the job done.
Yeah, okay. With that, okay, let me make an example. And this is why I love the lesson tonight, because it's so practical. When the master, he gives him 5 talents, he don't give him an outline of what to do with.
Right.
He gives them to, he don't give it. And see, this is the thing, and this is why it's so difficult sometimes to put to thought and put these ideas and the stuff into practice. And I'm glad you brought that up, because the master just gives them the resource, but he don't tell them what to do with it. Here's the thing. God is only going to bring it within the reach of your mind. He basically said to mankind, I'm gonna give you trees, dirt, I'm gonna give you air, I'm gonna give you a whole lot of time, and then I'm gonna give you a whole lot of thoughts. What can you do with this mess of stuff that I gave you? It's like what is the dish for tonight? It's something like voila, right? Yeah. It's a whole bunch of things that has come together to make a meal. Yeah. And this is what we have to understand. The understanding is we may not have all the answers, but you won't have the answers until you start trying to put stuff together. Yeah. And then that's when God starts to give you the resources and create the things. But it first starts with you. And that's the whole gist of tonight's lesson. And it's very, 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 very simple. There were no strict guidelines as to what to do with the talents. But the understanding is do something with it. More than just squander it off. More than just throw it away, or more than just sit on it. It is good to save. It's always good to save. But what good is it to have all of the resource and not do anything with it? And this is why I feel like God does not give us all the answers to all the questions sometimes, because sometimes he wants you to push yourself out of your comfort zone. I started off, God gave me a talent I could sing, I could harmonize. Then I took that, okay, that's music. So I took that, I want to learn how to play the bass. So I took that. Now I'm directing choirs. I'm doing a little bit more musically. You know what I'm saying? The thing is when you look at the raw things that God has put inside of you, your character, your mindset, the way that you are, the way that you think. He didn't give you strict guidelines and say, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way, you have to be that way. No, he gives you the freedom because he wants you to utilize that thing called creativity. You know what I'm saying? And I want us to catch that. There is more down in you that we are making use of in our lives. Have you considered that? Have you considered that when you get to heaven, what if God is only asking you, what did you do with all the time that you had on earth? You just chased your feelings around. Really? Wow. Consider that. You just chased your feelings around. You just did all that you wanted to do. But nobody was bettered by you being in their life. I want us to catch the concept tonight. This man, now, okay, the man is condemned. This man says, all right, now you gave me 100. I'm giving you your 100 right back. What's the problem? And it's exactly what you said. If I wanted my 100, I would have just kept my 100 in my pocket, but I gave it to you because evidently there was some thoughts that was going to come in your head that wasn't going to come in my head. There was some things that you was going to run across that maybe I would have never ran across. So I gave it to you to see what you could do with it. I want us to think, and if you can think of something in your head, an idea or a thought or something that you had in your head, I want you to slip your hand up that you felt like you probably could have done or should have done, but you just was like, nah, I'm gonna put my hand up because I had a couple of ideas that I just sat on and didn't do nothing. That I just sat on. I had some ideas. I had some thoughts. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could bring this together. Think about that. All those ideas that you had in your head. You know what I'm saying? Tonight's lesson is not designed to be difficult. It's not designed to be at all. Here's what the master comes back and he says, lazy and wicked. What's the issue with that, man? My thing is, hold on. At least you got back what you gave me. How you gonna just get mad? You know what I'm saying? Like, bruh, you got it back. Like, I don't want it back. Even if you would have lost it, but do something with it. Don't squander it, of course. Right. Now, here's my question to us tonight. With everybody slip their hand because I know I can slip up both hands because I have so many ideas. What did you do with those ideas? And if you ain't do nothing with them, I want you to slip your hand up. And forgetting, bury it. How many talents have you buried? How many ideas have you buried? How many resources have you buried? Look, this is for somebody. Look, and this not one of those jump and shout lessons. This is just something very simple. The understanding is, what are you doing with it, man? What are you doing with it? You got the ideas. What are you doing with it? See, the thing is that we don't start because we scared that it's gonna not turn out right. And that's basically what the man is saying. I didn't do nothing with it because I figured it wasn't gonna go right. And the understanding that I'm trying to get to us tonight is just do something. It's like the man at the pool of Bethesda. There's a man who's he's ailing. It's a pool of Bethesda. Once a year, an angel troubles the water, and when you're sick, you go down in the water and you can get your healing. Right? The man has been sitting by the pool for 38 years. 38 years, once a year, the angel comes to trouble the water. You get in the water, you heal. But this man has been sitting 38 years. Jesus comes along and asks him a question. Do you want to be healed? What kind of question is that? I'm sick. I've been sick. But Jesus is asking him, if you really wanted to get well after 38 years, my thing is, and this is not to make anyone feel bad, but the understanding is, do you want better? Do you want more? Do you want to do something different? That's why I was going with it. The thing is, we sit around and make excuses, and it turns out to nothing, and it never gets anywhere. And then we get mad at the wasted opportunities when really, as I said at the beginning of the lesson, the responsibility, it falls on us. Here's my thing. My thing is, I want to inspire us tonight to go back to the drawing board of those things in our life. It's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is coming up next week. And it's time for us to be thankful. My thing is, don't ask God for more. Ask God, how can I put to better use the resources that I already have? What if you already had the money to start your business, but it just don't seem like it? What if you already had the ideas to get it up and running, but it just don't seem like it? And you praying for God to give you startup money, and God had already gave you more ideas, or he may give you a way to get around that, or a way to get into that. You see what I'm saying? We can't stop believing in God so much so to the point where we don't believe in the things that he's put down in us. And I want us to remember that. The thoughts that you have in your head, some of them do be crazy. But some of those ideas be real good ideas. Where did a flat screen TV come from? Who had ever thought that we would go from box TVs to flat screen TVs? Who would have thought that? It started in somebody's head. Picture that. Picture that. The next idea can be sitting in your head and you haven't done anything with it. My question tonight, what are you doing with what God has given you? The problem with us is that there are too many of us burying our talents. And in order to get something, you have to do something. I want to make that very clear. In order to get something, you have to do something. If you sitting around sitting on it, it's never going to take off. You waiting on something to happen. 1 + 1 = 2, but 0 + 0 = 0. It's simple physics. We waiting on God to do something with something that we haven't even done nothing with. How you gonna get mad because you ain't a recording artist, but you ain't writing no music? You see what I'm saying? How you gonna get mad at God for not opening the door, but you not? I say it like this. I used to pray because there was a time in my preaching that God wanted to develop me, and I wasn't preaching nowhere. Nobody called me or nothing. And so I thought, God, create some opportunities, man. You called me to preach. So, I'm not supposed to just preach to myself. So I said, all right, God, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start getting some sermons together. I started studying. I started studying. Look, I started studying. And one of the ladies in the classes. I started studying. I started putting the word that God gave me. I started putting these things together. I started seeking it out. He would give me a text and I would seek out the lesson in it. He would give me an idea and I would seek it out. What started happening once I got to about message number 7, people start calling me about preaching. The understanding is if you're not willing to put your faith in action, God is never going to open that door. You see what I'm saying? It took me showing my faith and just preparing so that when the door opened, I'm ready to walk through it. But the thing is, we want God to open the door, but we ain't done no preparation. We ain't put nothing, no effort into it, but we want God to do this. Now, it ain't going to happen like that. And I want us to care. What are you doing with what God has given you? Don't put off your responsibility to make the right decision with your resources. Many times we squander, we abuse, or we ignore the fact that we have responsibility over our own life, over our own time, over our own mind, over our own money. It ain't nobody's fault if you ain't got no money in the bank, but whose? I mean, it's just simple as that. It's a hard saying, but it's very true. It's very true. We have to learn and understand if we are going to get up and do more and be better, we have to do it on our own. And God will help us. This is what I love about God. My grandfather used to say it like this, and I'm almost done. If you make 1 step, God will make 2 steps. In other words, it's basically giving me the blueprint to access the power of God in my life, which is once I put my faith in action and start doing something with what God gave me. There's a book that I wrote, haven't got it published yet. But the thing is, God gave me the concept for it, and I just started writing. And from that, the original concept, it ended up changing like 2 or 3 times before I got what it is that I was actually going to. You understand what I'm saying? But at the end of it, I got the complete book completed. The understanding is you may not have all the answers. That may not be the perfect thing, but that will be the thing that leads to the thing. If you put your faith in action. Faith without works is what? That means I can sit and ask God all day, but until I start putting something in motion, it will never happen. So my question tonight as we leave tonight, what are you doing with what God gave you? When you go home tonight, look at the resources that God has put in your hands. Look at your resources and check. Maybe what you have been asking God for, you already have it, but he's waiting on you to bring some stuff together. Maybe he's waiting on you to put the 1 plus the 1 so he can make it 2 or multiply it. You see what I'm saying? Maybe he waiting on you to work it. And that's the understanding of tonight's lesson. What are you doing with what God gave you? All right, here's the question. And I want us to put it in our minds. If you want to say it out loud, you can, but I want to put it in. What is one thing that What is one thing that God has put in your power, directly in your hands, that you may not be getting the most use of in your life? Just consider that. With me, it was time. I was at one point in my life, I squandered away so much of my time. And that's why when I said tonight about evaluating the relationships in my life, because they take time and effort. So I don't want to be as when I'm not saying you're gonna be perfect with your time, but I'm just using that as an example. What is one thing that God has put directly in your control that you may not have been getting the most or the best use of? That you could say, you know what? I need to pay more attention to how I spend my time. I need to pay more attention to how I spend my money. I need to pay more attention to what I'm doing with these thoughts and ideas. Am I even writing them down? You know what I'm saying? All right, here's another one. What does this say mean to you as I close? God works through human agents. Consider that. What does that mean to you? God works through human
He
agents.
puts people in place to do and be where you need them to be at the exact moment where they need
I could teach a lesson on just that. How God brings things at the right time, at the right place. But guess who got to be in place?
it. You have to be in place.
That I mean, look, God can send a blessing. God can send a blessing right here at this place. But if you not here, you ain't gonna never get it. And that's the thing. As I close tonight, what if your blessing is waiting on you to bring your idea to it? What if the blessing is already there, but the blessing is just sitting there waiting on you to put this stuff in motion? I want us to consider that. What are you doing with the things that God has put in your life? With that, we're going to go offline and have general comments and questions. But thank you guys for tuning in. It wasn't no big major lesson, not too deep. It's very simple. What are you doing with what God has given you? Thank you for tuning in once again. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. What you're watching is just one click. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, like our page, share our Bible study, tell somebody about it, and be sure to tune in next week. You guys are watching this on Thursday, but it is Wednesday night Bible study. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be blessed. Amen.